If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know, the return. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The crowd is here and the lights are on.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Wright Way podcast. I'm your host, CEO Malik Wright, joined by my co-host Daniel Alameda, Max Marrero, Lex, and well, I'm no Bruce Buffer. I'm definitely no Bruce Buffer, but we've got Sugar Sean O'Malley in the house today. How's it going, Sean?
Doing good. It's a nice Sunday.
Yeah, it's definitely nice outside. I'm in Jersey right now, and I'm telling you, we were just talking before the show, before we got on air, we were talking about the different weather, and I tell you right now, it's super hot right now. It feels like I'm in California. But with all that being said, guys, make sure you guys follow us on Twitter at TWSN, on Instagram at TWSN, on Facebook at the Wright Way Sports Network, and our user handles for our Instagram and Twitters are down below in the box. But with that being said, we're going to jump right into the show. Got a jam-packed show. Going to be talking to Sean O'Malley. With that being said, Sean, I'm going to jump right into it, man. What made you get into fighting? Let's start it off with that. What made you get into fighting?
Growing up, I just played basketball, football, soccer, baseball, pretty much, till I was 16 years old. Didn't like going to school, so I wasn't really able to play the school sports because you had to get good grades and show up. So my buddy asked if I wanted to go check out a fighting gym. I was 16. I think the first day was like a jiu-jitsu practice, but then the next practice was kickboxing, and I really fell in love with kickboxing. Did that for a couple of years. Then when I turned 18, started doing MMA and started fighting MMA. But yeah, it's been good.
Right. Listen, man, I don't have any extensive background when it comes to fighting, but I will tell you this. I did do a little amateur boxing, which is one thing I like to brag about, right? Did a little amateur boxing. I went to one MMA practice, which I tell Daniel about often. I went to one MMA practice. I got kicked in the leg, and I said, this is not for me. So it's definitely something you probably got to get used to. But let me ask you this. What drew you to that sports in particular, as opposed to football or any other sport, basketball?
I didn't have to get good grades to do it.
Right.
School affiliated thing. It was a solo kind of, if I lose, I lose, not the team. So I like that aspect of it. It was one-on-one. And I just enjoyed it.
Right. And we've definitely done interviews before in the past with athletes and stuff like that, like football players, basketball players. And the one thing that I've always said was, I think fighters, whether it be boxers or MMA fighters, for instance, they are the most intriguing individuals to interview because it's literally up to them. It's literally up to them. They can't say, I didn't lose. I lost because my teammate didn't do his job. No, I lost because of me, or I won because of me. Now, obviously, you have tremendous coaches and stuff like that, but I've always had a different level of respect for, fighters. That being said, yeah, absolutely, man. It's the truth, right? We actually had the youngest pro boxer in New Jersey on, and he was, pretty much saying that same exact sentiment about how it's the weight of the world is sort of on his shoulders before a fight. So that being said, you were in the Ultimate Fighter. Describe to us what that experience was like for you.
I was on the Contender Series, so I wasn't in the Ultimate Fighter. The Contender Series was literally just another fight. The weigh-ins, everything was the same. You train in the same gym. So the Contender Series was literally just another fight, really. There was probably 40 people in there, so that was probably the only thing different. There was no walkout music, but it just felt like another fight, just another,
Right. Another day at the office.
Had a lot of fights, so they all feel similar.
Yeah. I'm gonna let these guys get in here and ask questions.
Okay.
Sean, so basically the biggest thing that I learned from you is obviously your confidence, right? Like you go into every fight knowing that you're gonna win. But at what moment, I think we'll play a clip of Eddie, your fight against Eddie right now. One
Yeah.
second. Let's play the clip.
In and out, he does a fan.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, he slept in bed.
That's my favorite part. Hearing DC say in the background, he slept them bad. That's
Yeah.
only my favorite part. And we were actually watching that fight, and I'm like, the right hand came out of nowhere. I'm like, what in the world? I can't believe he. Oh my God, man. Sorry,
Yeah.
Daniel, I cut you off.
You're good. You're good. So, like, at what moment, whether it was the face-off or like during the fight, do you know, like, I got this?
3 weeks before the fight, when they told me I was fighting Eddie, I had already watched him. I already watched his. I knew I was gonna fight him or a couple other options. And then once they texted me and said you're fighting Eddie, I'm like, perfect. I already know what's gonna happen. I had watched his skill set versus my skill set. I win 10 out of 10 times. So, yeah, right when I found out I was fighting him.
Damn, nice. Max.
So Sean, let me step in here to add on to Daniel's question. So when you knocked out Eddie, you saw his face on the floor. What was the first thing that went through your head?
It's a good question. I don't know, just enjoying all of that. That probably kind of a sense of relief, like it's over. But I don't know. It was calming. The whole experience is always pretty calm for me. And once he drops, it's just calm. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know what kind of went through my head. I don't remember thinking anything specific.
I remember you yelling out something. I remember him yelling out something.
I think I said I love you, Joe Rogan. Yeah, I think that's what I yelled out.
And to add to that, the fact that there wasn't any fans to witness that, what are your thoughts on that? Do you wish there was fans on the stands, or what are your thoughts on that?
For sure, I wish there was fans. Looking back, even watching my fight against Jose, rewatching it compared to rewatching the one against Eddie, just like the crowd, the lights, and everything about the fans being there just makes the moment so much more. I don't know. It's more exciting for sure when the fans are there, and that would have been such a loud explosion of noise after that. It just came out of nowhere. I like watching the fighters or fan reactions. Those are the best. Watching reactions to the fight. It's pretty fun.
For sure.
Alexis.
One question that I just really wanted to ask, because, like Daniel said, you go into your fights with so much confidence, and it's awesome to just kind of watch that energy when you get into the ring there. So what are some, like, you have, like any pre-fight rituals? Do you do anything different to prepare for fights through your trainings?
Not really. For me, just like the whole time, pretty much the whole day is a pretty calm feeling day. Sitting in the back waiting is calming. Just not really the thing I do every fight, just follow my breath, like consciously and be aware of the flow of the breath in and out of my nose, just nasal breathing, and that's something I do every single fight before. It's like this XBT app. It's a breath app or a breath work app. I do that before my fights. I do a lot of that before my regular training sessions as well too.
So before we jump into the meaty questions that I want to ask you, I want to tell people once again, this is the Wright Way podcast. We're here with Sugar Sean O'Malley, UFC fighter. Sean, is there a fighter that you would say you pattern your game after?
No, I think I have the best. Well, I feel like I have the best striking in the UFC. And my grappling is improving fast. But I don't think there's really – I take tricks and tips and stuff that works from a lot of top guys.
Right.
I can pretty much do – if I see someone like Stephen Thompson do something that's working, like in that karate style stance, I can put that into my game and implement it, and do it similar with my style. Or someone that's a really high-level boxer, I feel like I can switch my styles really well, better than anyone. And so, but yeah, I take little tips and tricks from all the top guys.
And that's awesome. So now we've got some spicy questions. We got somebody asking a question right here that I'm going to pull up. It says, who do you want to fight next? Who do you got your eye on? Do you have your eye on anyone?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I think the Cody Garbrandt fight's definitely going to be a fight in the future. I think it's going to be a big fight, a main event. Could be a pay-per-view main event. If he keeps winning and I keep winning, it could be a big fight. So I don't think that's next. I know Cheeto's an option. There's a couple options. I haven't talked to UFC about who's next yet, so I don't. It's tough to say.
So now that we got all the the nice questions out of the way, I want to get to it, man. I want to talk to you about this. I want to talk to you about this tweet that you put out. It was the tweet where you put out the UFC rankings, and you had yourself as the champion. Now, a lot of UFC fighters, obviously, they had something to say about it. What was the process like? What went into this tweet, man?
There's no champ in the division right now. There's no one. So
Triple C retired, right?
Yeah, Henry's retired. It's a vacant belt. No one's in that position. So I feel like I'm the best in the division. So it just made sense to put myself up there.
Right, and I know you probably hear this a lot, or UFC fighters in general hear this a lot. And I don't mean to always bring up this guy because it feels like in every MMA interview you hear someone say the notorious Conor McGregor. But honestly, man, your confidence, right? Your confidence in the way you go about it, even when you're in the octagon, you remind me a lot of him. I mean, the way you're able to just, at any point in time, you're able to stop the show. You're able to end the fight. Yeah. Did you watch a lot of Conor? Did Conor have any type of influence on you? Did you?
Yeah, I think, I've watched a lot of his interviews. I've watched a lot of Chael Sonnen interviews. I've watched a lot of those interviews that are fun to watch. And then Conor's confidence. I feel like I had that confidence, but he kind of brought it to a new level of telling people, like, I'm going to knock this dude out in the first round and actually truly believe it and actually truly think it.
Right.
And so he kind of gave me the – I feel like I probably would have been this way too anyway because I've always had that confidence going into fights.
Right.
But just being able to, you always get asked what's your prediction of the fight. So, but yeah, hearing him always say, I'm going to knock this dude out in the first round or whatever he would say is,
it's like he manifested it. It's like he manifested it. It's like he's spoken into existence. It's like he said, I know I'm going to do this and here's how I'm going to do it. Now watch me do it. And he goes out there and does the exact same thing that he says he's going to do. I mean, he got the nickname Mystic Mac because of it.
Right. So yeah, that's just his confidence going. I think he had a similar thought pattern and similar confidence that I have going into fights that's what we see. That's how we see the fight playing out.
Right.
Sean,
Sean, let me ask. Oh, go ahead, Daniel.
All right, Sean. So from the interview with Joe Rogan, that thing was awesome. But the biggest thing that I took away from that was your maturity at such a young age. What do you want people to remember about you? When they hear the name Sean O'Malley, what do you want them to remember about that name?
That's a good question. But I mean, if you guys or anyone that listens to the podcast, Tim and I's podcast, Timbo Sugar Show, I feel like we preach kind of about just being your true self, being yourself, and we preach about the eating healthy, eating quality food, sleeping, hydrating, stretching, doing all the right shit for your body and your mind. So probably something around those lines. And then in the fight world, I want to have the longest highlight reel ever. I want it to be a 30-minute video, a movie of me just doing sweet shit in the octagon.
Max.
So Sean, since Malik mentioned Triple C Cejudo, I want to add to the speculation. So I know you guys had a back and forth recently, both with the media and on Twitter. Do you think he retired prematurely? And secondly, do you think that, because I know your career is still taking off, you still got some time to fight some good guys. Do you think once you build a stronger resume and once you get a title shot, do you think Cejudo will come out of retirement and take a fight against you, or do you think he won't?
It depends. It depends how. I mean, if I keep doing this I'm gonna keep doing this to the top guys. I'm not doing these. You know, Eddie, he was a former world champ. Yeah. But once I'm doing these to the next best guys, I don't think he's gonna want to. Once I'm champ, I think he'll know. The sport's moved on. You know, I think he's like 5'3". You guys got to realize I'm almost 6 foot. He's not very tall. He's not very big. I'm like, he like looks straight up to me. So I think he'd be smart not to. But also he's super insecure, and when I say stuff like that, I bet he's gonna want to fight me. So it just depends if he wants to risk his legacy and get knocked out. I could even submit Henry. I wouldn't, you know, 3, 4, however many years, if we fight, I wouldn't be surprised if I submitted him. So yeah, I don't know. He'll probably stay retired.
That's a good tactic. Maybe you will get him to come out of retirement because we know he has a big ego. So he might hear that and might be like, okay, let me try him. Let me see what's up. But I definitely would love to see that fight. I would actually. That's a couple of fights, man, that I want to see you fight. I loved your quote that you put out. Someone asked. They said, "What happens in a fight? You versus Cody?" You said, "I sliced through that beard. I'll slice through his beard." And I'm like, you know, Cody is a former champ. I think that will be an excellent fight. But you know, Cody has a tendency to get into these dog fights every now and then. Sometimes they're to his own risk at times. I think that happened his last 2 fights. But you versus Cody, I think that would be an excellent fight. We have a question down here from someone. It says, it seems like you have a great relationship with your coach. Can you talk about the advantages of that heading into a fight?
Yeah, Tim and I. You know, he's pretty much my head coach. Pretty much been my head coach since I turned pro. Mm-hmm. As far as he's always in the corner. He's always the main one that's talking to me. He holds mitts for me. We grapple live together. He's my jiu-jitsu coach, so he knows my game really well. Right. He knows what I like to throw. He knows a lot of my setups. He knows my jiu-jitsu. He knows where I feel most confident. So I think having that and you know, all the little code words we use in the striking, super beneficial. I see some of these guys that don't have that relationship with their coaches, and it's definitely a disadvantage if your opponent has a good relationship with their coach. I feel like that's an advantage for sure.
Right. We have someone here that says, I love how real this guy is. True story, guys. True story. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you one thing I love about Sean. I reached out to Sean for this interview, and he was the coolest guy about it. I mean, there was no middle person I had to go through. It was kind of a relief because usually, you know, interviewing NFL athletes, NBA, you got to go through the team. You got to go through ages. You got to go through much red tape. Sean was such a cool guy. It's like, yeah, no, let's do it. Blah, blah. We're texting back and forth. I said, hey, Sean, I'll send you over the questions before. And he says, nah, let's shoot from the hip. So this is as real as it gets. This is a kid. This is him. And you know, this is what I love about him. This was the one thing. This is why I wanted him on the show, because I think that Sean Malley is as real as he gets. And I often have told you guys, I think he's a future world champion. I don't know about you guys, but I think he's a future world champion. I'm not just blowing smoke. Even, you know, before I even got into this game, Sean, started my own company, all that stuff like that. I actually played with you in UFC in UFC 3 all the time. You know, seriously? We played. Absolutely. Nice. Absolutely. I don't know if you play that game or if you're good at it.
I played it a few times. Definitely not good at it.
Well, you should play as yourself, and you should see how good you are in that game. Honestly, your strikes are pretty amazing. Somebody says the Cody fight has to happen. I think everybody wants to see that Cody fight. I know I certainly do.
It'll happen. It's just a matter of time. He keeps winning, I keep winning. It'll be a big fight someday.
Absolutely. Daniel, I know you had a question.
Oh, definitely about the hair. The hair, man. I'm a huge 6ix9ine fan, and as we talked about before the show, what was like the inspiration? Like, what about 6ix9ine really gravitated towards you, like to do the hairstyle?
We were gonna do this, my UFC debut. So it was before I even knew of 6ix9ine. We were gonna do rainbow colored hair, but I wanted to get a couple fights in the UFC. I wanted to, you know, kind of establish a name before I came in looking crazy. So I felt like this was a perfect fight. Just got off the first round knockout. And it just worked out perfect. My buddy Schmitty, we were playing Xbox because I stream a lot on Twitch, and he's like, you should go do 6ix9ine hair. And I was like, it was like It was probably 12 days before the fight. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go do it. So I went and did it that night.
So,
Yeah. How long did the process take? How long did it take? Did it take a while?
Yeah, with everything from start to end, probably 10, 11, 12 hours. Not in one sitting, but in about 2-3 different times.
So I'm going to throw something at you, man. Something that was a really hot topic that transpired during this whole quarantine. Conor McGregor put out a tweet and he listed his MMA GOAT list, for instance. I'd be wrong if I didn't ask you. Do you have an MMA top 10 GOAT list right now of guys? It doesn't matter which weight class. Are there 10 guys where you're like, okay, this guy is definitely on the GOAT list?
I'd just say John Jones, number one, probably. Just his. Right. I think that's just John Jones, number one.
Right.
That's it. That's my GOAT list.
I got you. So no Anderson Silva, no George St. Pierre, none of that.
I didn't watch them fight when I was. I mean, a little towards the end. I watched Anderson and George at like the end of their career, but for the most part, no. And I mean, if you go and look at their SureDogs, their records, you just can't pass up John Jones. From the guys he beat.
Let me ask you this, Sean. At the end of your career, where do you think you're going to be on the GOAT list?
If everything's going good, I truly think that I'm going to have the best skill set in MMA from an MMA perspective. Maybe not the best jiu-jitsu, maybe not the best boxing, but the best MMA. I feel like I can really mix it up well in all areas, and my grappling's getting. I'm just scratching the surface with my grappling, my strength and conditioning. I'm only 25. I feel like I have a lot to improve on. And if I can just stay healthy and keep training and getting better, I feel like I'll be up there.
And Sean, last question we got for you, because we don't want to take up too much more of your time, my man. But what would you tell, someone young that is trying to get into the game of MMA? What is your advice to them?
I would suggest definitely training jiu-jitsu in a gi. I think that's helped my jiu-jitsu improve a ton. That's what I trained today. I did gi jiu-jitsu, and it's so much fun. I enjoy it a lot. I think it benefits no-gi grappling as well. But finding a good gym and training MMA, but also train gi jiu-jitsu.
Awesome. Guys, here with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Sean, thank you so much, man, for taking the time out of your day to sit and talk with us, man. Greatly appreciate it. We're going to keep following your career. And obviously you and me have each other's number. We're going to keep up with one another. Definitely. Make sure you guys go follow Sean on Instagram. Tell them where to follow you at, Sean.
Yep. Sugar Sean MMA on Twitter and Insta.
Sugar Sean MMA. Follow Sugar Sean MMA on Twitter and Instagram. We appreciate him supporting the Wright Way Sports Network and coming on to the Wright Way podcast. Sean, my man, take care, man. Get healthy. Keep going, and we wish you the best of luck. And we look forward to having you back on the podcast soon.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Sean. Thank you
so much, my man. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
So, guys, once again, that was our interview with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Ooh. I love him. I love how real he is. He's just so real.
He's very raw.
Right. I love everything about him, man. He was a great guy. We were texting back and forth throughout this entire process, and it was honestly refreshing to talk to an athlete and kind of get his input. But we want to thank him again for joining on the Wright Way podcast. Guys, this was a special edition of the Wright Way podcast. Typically, it doesn't happen on Sundays, but it happened on Sunday. And guess what? It's typically on a Tuesday. We'll be back on Tuesday. We'll be talking some NFL action, some NBA action, all sports action this upcoming Tuesday on the Wright Way podcast, 9 p.m. Want to thank you guys for continuing support the Wright Way Sports Network. Remember, follow us on Instagram at TWSNet, on Twitter at TWSNet, on Facebook at the Wright Way Sports Network. Follow us. Our names are at the bottom. I don't know about you guys, but I had a fun time doing the show today.
Definitely.
What an interview.
Yeah, no, that was dope. He's really real. I love that. You just
as real as it gets, and that's all we ask for here on the Wright Way podcast. So want to thank you guys for tuning in. Want to thank you guys for supporting, and I hope everybody has a great night.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the